Hi, I'm Beth from Fangirlish, and this is Leanna Renee. And how do you say your last name?
It's Heber. It's like Bieber, but with an H, and not a crime record either.
Very nice. That gives people a good reference, though.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, so huge fan of Boardwalk Empire, and I saw that you actually worked on the show. Let's talk about that a bit, because you're an actress as well.
I am. I'm a member of Actors Equity and SAG-AFTRA, so both of the performers unions. I worked on stage extensively and also in film and television. I was a background extra for all 5 seasons of Boardwalk Empire. I was featured with a part in season 4, the second episode. Very top of the episode, I get flowers from Michael Shannon's character, so that was really cool. And every year I got to do to be in a different time period and a different outfit. I got a chance in the last season, season 5, to be a part of the flashback scenes in 1884. So I was in full Victorian regalia, which is very perfect because of my books being set in the late Victorian era. So just 2 years off of the date that Eternophiles is set from, I was in a dress of the time period, and that was magnificent. What I loved most about working on that show was a very professional crew, some of the nicest people I'd ever worked with. I got to be a stand-in for June Thompson's character for a while, and that was really wonderful, and everyone there was really great. And the attention to historic detail and the costumers, oh my goodness. Everyone there and the entire costume crew was such a delight to go back to every year, and we all were like, oh hey, good to see you again, and what we're going to put you in this year. And that was a really, really fun thing to go back to consistently. It was, out of all the shows that I worked, that was the show that I worked most consistently, and I'm really sad that it's off the air because it was my favorite one to work.
Okay, so that was a great segue, because my next question is, what fascinates you about the Victorian age, and how did you discover your love of this time period? Because it does play a huge part in acting for you, but your books as well.
Absolutely. So I fell in love with the Victorian era when I was very little, and I don't really have any explanation for it other than possibly a past life, because as a child I was very drawn to the 1880s literature that came out then. When I was first reading Edgar Allan Poe, who was writing in the 1850s, 40s and 50s, I fell in love with his work. He's my foremost influence, and pretty much that set the course of my taste from Poe onwards. So yes, I'm a lifelong goth girl as well. So it all kind of makes sense. And the Victorian era itself, I love the rich language of the time period. I like how it was putting a toe into the modern era. It was the earliest advent of things like electricity and plumbing and gaslighting going into other lighting and the modernisms, but not quite in the way that we know them today. It was also the birth of the era of civil rights and women's suffrage, and it was a very restrictive time period, but because of how restrictive it was, it actually started to lead to a lot of the interesting and important vital social movements that we have today. Things like workers' rights and children's rights, and the ASPCA, the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, was founded and went out on Henry Bergh went out on a mission to protect animals and children in legislature in the 1860s, and all of these things coming together made it a very dynamic time, at the same time that the Industrial Revolution had created so many different new ways to look at the world and also technology. And at the same time, it was also a time of great fear about these new advancements in technology and a changing social economic status, the birth of the middle class. It was such a dynamic era in which more happened in 40 years than it had in 400 years in terms of social changes. That is a fascinating dynamic to put a book in, and I keep coming back to it because they were also obsessed with the occult and with spiritualism and the dead and mythology and just spirituality in general, which is something that I'm fascinated with too. So it is an era in which all of these things come together, and that in and of itself is a rich setting. So I didn't really have to elaborate more on a rich setting than is already there in the Victorian era, and I just throw in some ghosts and demons for good measure.
Sounds awesome, is awesome. I can vouch for the Strangely Beautiful saga.
Thank you.
Because that was how I found you.
It was my first
so awesome.
is my first series, and I love those books. They're the books of my heart, and I'm so thrilled that they'll be coming back into print. Tor is re-releasing them in early 2016 in both Strange and Beautiful Tale of Miss Percy Parker and the sequel, The Darkly Luminous Fight for Persephone Parker, will be put into one volume called Strange and Beautiful, and it'll be back out in print, and Percy and Alexi will be back in the world. It's my new author's preferred revised edition. Tor is doing it upright, and I'm so thrilled for it to be back in print.
And the third book is actually going to come too.
The third book will come too, and the fourth and never before released, never published, fourth book in the series, Miss Violet and the Great War, which focuses on Percy and Alexi's child, that was also bought in the contract with the rest of the books, so the series will also finally be completed.
So are you
I don't
serious?
know exactly when, but I'm so excited.
So it's going to be 4.
It's 4.
Well,
It's
it'll
always a
be
quartet.
3,
Yep,
but
3 books exactly, but 4 volumes.
Okay.
From the first 2 put together, then the third, Perilous Prophecy, and then Miss Violet and the Great War for the 4th and final installment, which fans have been waiting for years, and I'm finally so excited that it will be coming out in the next couple of years. But first we have to do the first books, and we have to get the rest of Eterna Files out in the meantime.
So we've got a long wait.
A bit, but they will be here, and it'll be done right. So.
Yes, and also Strangely Beautiful is trying to find its footing possibly as a musical.
It absolutely is. It's a long road to musical theater, to go from the page to the stage. But we've had some great successes so far with some regional workshop productions. And so if you go online to strangelybeautifulthemusical.com, you will see our demo album, which was made in a Manhattan sound studio with a wonderful, talented cast. That was part of our equity staged reading that we've done. And we have just an amazing host of talented people working on this show, and it takes just a long time, and it takes investors and time and schedules working out and theater availability. There's so many different aspects going into making a show that I, even with a life in theater, didn't know from this side of it, from a production side of it. So, but when I got a chance to hear my characters sing, I had nothing to do with the orchestration or the lyrics of the song. I do have a hand in the script of the musical, but the songs and the lyrics are all from my amazing team of Kenny and Nicholas, Kenny Seymour and Nicholas Roman Lewis. So great, and so Strange Beautiful, themusical.com. Check it out.
Definitely, and thank you so much for taking time to talk to us.
Thank you.